We're here at D10e with Brock Pierce, a man who requires no introduction. And we're here to find out what's happening right now in the industry amongst the thought leaders of the industry. I'm going to hand her over and explain to me what's the current climate amongst you guys, amongst the people who are the voices, who have the power to change, fluctuate trading patterns with your very words. What's your feeling? Is it all enthusiasm? Is it all optimism? Or are big names like Jamie Dimon knocking down the currency? Is that knocking down your faith too? Or, like you said on stage, is he not being entirely honest, perhaps?
I think Jamie Dimon is doing exactly what Jamie Dimon is supposed to do. You know, he's the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world, and this as an industry is a potential threat to his business. And as a fiduciary, it's his job to do what he's doing, and I think he's doing a very good job of it. As participants in the market, when I hear him make these statements, it makes me want to go out and buy more.
But how?
Because when the incumbent industry is making statements like this and acknowledging you, it's a sign that what we're doing is working. It's a huge validation. So I interpret it very differently than perhaps others do. So it's great.
Is it an opportunity to fill in the cracks?
Well, more than that, it's a great opportunity to hire some incredible people out of JP Morgan. There's some really high quality talent leaving there in droves as a result of that.
Awesome.
It's the JP Morgan resumes coming in these days
Will
are
we
just
bring them to
flooding
Ukraine?
in.
Is Ukraine the place for them to go right now?
I don't think that most of these executives are going to be moving from New York to the Ukraine.
In terms of the value of their Bitcoin, go pretty far here, no?
I think most of these people have enough money they can be anywhere. If you're a senior executive, typically at JP Morgan, you're making millions of dollars a year in comp. And these are the types of people leaving in droves. I don't mean... his number two executive, Blythe Masters, left, who is on track to be CEO of JP Morgan to go join a blockchain, to join a blockchain company as CEO. So Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan has been experiencing, the disruptive nature of this industry more than anyone. So I have no issues with Jamie Dimon. I think he's doing his job, and I think he's doing it well. And that's the job of the incumbent. Ultimately, these businesses are going to have to, everyone should read The Innovator's Dilemma if you haven't read that book. The company that you would want to emulate, I think, of any of them is Charles Schwab. When E-Trade came to market, when Scottrade came to market, and it was breaking basically the traditional brokerage business, Charles Schwab recognized that the business he had today was going to go away, and to be successful in the future, he had to cannibalize himself. In a world where innovation and progress is moving so rapidly, it's innovate or die. But it's very hard as an incumbent, when you have a really good business and the status quo is working for you to, cannibalize yourself. And that's going to be the challenge that most of these businesses have. I think JP Morgan is doing, a great job from their perspective. That's not my perspective. I'm obviously, I'm on the other side of the coin, as they say. Jamie Dimon making these types of statements, I think, is a very positive thing for the industry in the long run. General market sentiment beyond that, I couldn't be more enthusiastic. Don't look at price ever as a way of understanding what's happening in the industry, because the price is not a data point that's really relevant. Price is the primary barometer of sentiment in a market that's very emotional. But that's all the price is. When the price is down, it has nothing to do with progress. Throughout these last 6 years, it's been nothing but steady, incredible progress, just up and to the right. Price kind of does what it does, and that's based upon hype and all the other things. But that's also great. We're having a good year. People are having, the innovators have access to resources in ways they never have before. And when those resources become available, it often takes years for that innovation to be seen. And so, on the small amounts of venture capital that came in 2013 and 2014 and 2015, look at what we've accomplished. Now with the ICOs and the resources, there's a big wave coming.
Let's speed it up. I guess one of our major issues is to improve the rate of adoptance amongst the consumer in terms of people are using wallets and getting involved. We see some projects here today, new ICO projects, which have received enough backing in order to be able to grow at a very rapid pace. which can bring 2 million new customers using wallets within the next 3 months. That's a 20% increase on the variables at the moment. Getting these numbers up at a faster rate. Can we double the number of Bitcoin users by the end of next year? This time next year, can we have 20 million people around the world using Bitcoin every day?
I think that's probably a pretty good estimate of what we'll see. If I had to guess, sounds about right, is the market, will likely double every year. And it's taken a while, but that, keep in mind, it took a long time to go from 0 to a billion users. When you start thinking about the first businesses that accomplished that, now you're seeing businesses that can go to a 0 to a billion users in 1 or 2 years. These are unprecedented rates of adoption that can occur. Our industry isn't ready because we don't have the infrastructure in place to scale like that. And much like the internet wasn't very useful to many people until you had a browser and search engines and content to both read and buy. You need all of the bridges, the roads, and the tunnels. And I think that the basic infrastructure of the industry is almost there, and we're getting close to being able to scale some aspects of it. So I think those are safe assumptions. And once we get to the point that the basic infrastructure is in place and can scale, that's when we're looking at that kind of exponential event.
Okay. So
where the tipping point occurs, and you go from 20 million to 200 million in a year. And I think that those days are coming. But the infrastructure's not there yet.
It's not there yet.
So doubling is probably a good goal for the time being.
But a lot of the money, and other money that's doubling, if not tripling, and the amount that's been spent on ICOs on average. You showed us charts yesterday. We're looking at extraordinary growth. A lot of that money going into businesses which don't yet have technology, which it's going to meet a market that doesn't have the scalability.
Yeah.
It's going to be an issue.
Super exciting.
Is that, like Vittel and Buterin say, does that in any way look to you to have any semblance? You've seen bubbles in other areas. Is there, within the ICO, he's saying bubble, what do you say?
Oh, I mean, we're clearly in a bubble, but bubbles aren't bad. Again, bubbles are, market sentiment kind of driven. The bad aspect of the bubble is there are a bunch of people raising money or getting contributors to donate to their projects depending upon structures that probably shouldn't be raising money. Anytime you have an asymmetry of information that's between the people that have the knowledge and the people that have money, and with this type of environment and these types of returns, clearly there's going to be a lot of bad actors. Every cockroach is coming out of the woodwork, right?
I think we can liken the industry to the new Wild West, and we've got our snake oil salesmen. We have our
I wish there was something we could do about that. Unfortunately, this type of dynamic is always going to produce this result. And the best thing we can do is never compromise our own individual integrity. Don't invest in anything you don't understand. If I say invest in this, don't do. I mean, I would never say that, but
you wear a disclaimer on your back. It's taking you up on your word anyway.
Yeah, but the point being though is think for yourself. Don't invest in things you don't understand, and walk before you run. Don't invest anything you can't afford to lose entirely.
For the people who are seeing this is their first time they've watched videos on a blockchain exhibition, getting a feel and the vibe for it. We know you're a dancer. we see that you enjoy the buzz, the feel, and we see that you have a way to explain things very simply. If you're going to just explain the nature of this market, everybody uses the words decentralization, democratization. We use what do you say if you're going to sum it up in 30 seconds to the beginner, to the end user, and to why to be involved in this?
The most important thing that's ever happened is happening right now. This is the technology that you can say democratization, you can say liberation. I mean, there's a lot of terms that we could use here. This is the technology that is going to enable the biggest change the world has ever seen. This is something far bigger than the internet, and it's going to impact our lives far more so. And not just in a way where it's creating greater efficiency in our life. It's going to change everything.
Changes in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Thanks
going to
very
change
much.
everything.
Brock Pierce, everyone.
For the better.
Appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.